Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. And all day and all night and everything he sees is just blue. Like him, inside and outside. Blew his house with a blue little window and a blue Corvette. And everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around. Cause he ain't got nobody to listen to.
Welcome to the Back Row Giants Show.
Back Row Show, Bandits! G-Man, Big Blue, Giants Pride, giddy up, let's go, it's your boy, the B-League says here. And I'm hosting yet another episode of the Back Row Giants podcast for the Back Row Fantasy Show via the Back Row Network on behalf of the Back Row Studios. And you know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Boom, let's go, here we go. I'm going to kick off today's episode with news and notes surrounding the Giants for the week. First of all, it sounds like New Jersey is opening up. And with that would be the players starting to report the training camp. Instead of Zoom, Skype, whatever calls, FaceTime, I could care less. That just seems like it's all about to get started and get going again, which is pretty damn cool. Good sign that football's actually happening. Obviously, the NBA has got an idea of when it's going back, and English Premier League is, the German Bundesliga is as well. So it seems like a little bit of normalcy in terms of sports is about to start. Except, you know, unless you're a baseball fan, that it sucks for you, doesn't it? Former Giant Dion Buchanan, he's off to the Falcons, which, you know, that's fine. He was okay. Nothing wrong with him. He was fine. He did his job. But, he's found a new home. And speaking of who we're in love with again, Corey Coleman. If you like those reports, Corey Coleman. We love Corey Coleman again because he's been a thing for the past... Oh, no, he hasn't. He hasn't done anything in 3 years. Right. Yeah, well, that's a shame. And, speaking of any unbiased love, David Cutcliffe, he thinks Daniel Jones is going to have a better year in year 2. That's like saying water is wet and the sun comes up every morning. That's a good one, Dave. Well done. That's very good. You kind of have to say that, don't you? He came from your school. You know, he's your guy. You kind of have to say, yeah, no, he's going to be much, much better. He's going to be pretty good. He's going to be pretty good. He's going to be amazing next year. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's going to be untouchable. Yeah. Because it's not like Cutcliffe's going to come out and say, well, he's not my problem anymore and I could care less. He's probably going to stink it up and I fooled you all, but I got paid. He's not going to say that. You know, listen, time and time again, ball security, better decision making. These are the things. That's it. That's all I want to see from him. He's going to be fine. He's shown what he can do. Ball security. No more fumbles, no more turnovers, intercepts. Calm him down. That's it. The decision making will come. Greater decision making will come if you can start to protect the ball more. That's all we need to see. And if you haven't already, Eli Manning Twitter is amazing. It's up there with one of the best. What a funny guy. Please give him a follow. Follow his... he's going to throw in the odd ad. He's getting paid. Let's, hashtag ad. He's got that in there. He's going to throw... He's making his money still, but still. He's a funny unit. Follow Eli Manning. Speaking of Eli Manning, here's some good stuff that's come out of the Giants over the past few weeks. Now, I know this sounds... I kind of feel like after the last episode concerning DeAndre Baker, we need to turn this thing around a little bit more. A little bit negative, wasn't it? And I wasn't speaking on behalf of me. That was more of the commentary that you saw from the Giants' Twitter. The Giants' pride, if you will. There was a lot of uproar, knee-jerk reactions. As I said, my stance is he's 21. He made mistakes. They probably paid off those kids. They're probably going to turn the other cheek on this. He's probably going to get by. He's probably going to go to the end of the depth chart. He's probably going to have to work his way up. And if he doesn't, we've got 2 more years of him fighting for a spot on the team before we cut, trade, or release him. So, best case scenario, he proves everyone right, lives up to that round 1 pick 31 tag, and, the guy turns out to be a stud next to James Bradbury. and we get greater depth on our team with Love and all those other cats, Beal, Ballantyne, and all those guys that we drafted this year, the cornerbacks we drafted, Holmes, and I forget the lad from Minnesota's name. It's going to haunt me, I know. But, only good can come of this, right? So, a little bit of good to speak about because, the world has changed a lot in the last 2 weeks, hasn't it? So, a little bit of good to talk about. This is via ABC and Yahoo Sports. It was around May 11th. Eli Manning and Michael Strahan and a few other Giants greats paired up for the Robin Hood Foundation. It was a gala that raised money for Rise Up New York, which is for New Yorkers in need, which was a telethon, and that's great to see. Consider the numbers here, just for a moment. There are 2 million New Yorkers that are going hungry and 750,000 children that have lost access to meals because schools are shut down. And the Robin Hood Foundation helps those gain access to such needs and just to help their quality of life. So Robin Hood is a fantastic New York-based foundation that gives 100% of every dollar you donate directly to multiple organizations, helping your fellow New Yorkers in need. I'd never heard myself of the of the Robin Hood organization prior to this, but it's nice to know that the leaders of our team, despite being active or retired, Strahan's, Tux, Manning, all those sorts of guys, they're still great examples to follow of what it is to be a New York football giant. And maybe that youthful ignorance that we've seen on our team that makes stupid mistakes, that reins in a little bit and they can take note of what these guys are doing and give back to the New York community, even if it's just to help with a telethon. We need more Strahans. We need more Mannings coming out of our team for generations to come to make sure that, this franchise is always seen in the great light that it should be. So that's pretty cool, right? Like that's a good thing. So hopefully with our podcast going forward, we'll talk about a few more things that's going on in the New York-based community that we should be. I think that's a way we can add to what this is. This is a community, right? So might be a good idea to add something good in there for that. Now, the meat and taters for this week. Now, I've been over this before, and I hate repeating myself. That you'll find out if there's something that I hate, and you can hear it in my voice. I'm hoping there's nothing worse than repeating yourself because it kind of sucks having to say the same thing over and over and over again. But because it came up this week, there was, for some reason, a lot of talk about the New York Football Giants wide receivers, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate. Now, I've already thrown Slayton into the front of that. Notice that no one starts with Shepard or Tate. They're automatically going to Slayton. You'll notice it in conversations, just in passing. People are already talking about Slayton being the guy straight away. I'll leave you to determine that. But those three came up in conversations this week and determining who was going to do what. Now, I've been over this before. I said they're all format-based receivers. You wouldn't want them in specific ones. For example, I don't think I could handle having Darius Slayton in a redraft league. I couldn't because he's too inconsistent. 1 week he's going for 2 touchdowns and 80 yards. The next week he's going for 2 receptions and 12. So I couldn't handle that on a week-to-week basis, but something like best ball, and again, where he was going in the 8th round, that was about a month ago. Maybe I think he might have slipped back with rookie fever jumping in too. Best ball where you can set it and forget it, and those big games count for something. I think that's where he's best used. If you can get him at the right price. Generally, you could probably stack him with Daniel Jones if you wanted to. I noticed that was a thing that was going on as well. But I would think he's a best ball guy. Sterling Shepard, I think, in Dynasty would scare the living crap out of you, purely because health issues are an actual issue. No one wants to talk about this as a thing, and that's fine. I want no ill will towards my players, and I'll go over that in a bit. But yeah, we have to throw the caveat in there that if he is healthy, he is fantastic value. If he is healthy, that's one of those things that we always have to keep adding in there, and that kind of sucks because the guy's a talented unit. And then there's Golden Tate, who I think, if you are... Look, you can get him for peanuts in Dynasty. You're really good. You could get him for a throwaway 3rd or 4th, I reckon. Someone's going to want to get rid of him, especially with all the hype that Slayton's getting. You could probably find a way to sneak him into your lineup if it was... let's say a league with a couple of flex spots or 3 wide receiver sets. Again, he's going the 16th, 17th round in best ball, and I'm going to go over a few stats of his a little bit later. You'll find out that he's probably a screaming value too. So that would be, for me, format-based work. Again, you're probably going to pick up a guy like Golden Tate on bye weeks. He's probably going to be available, and he's probably going to do really well for you. So, all three of them hold certain niche markets when it comes to how you want to grab them in fantasy. So, for me, before I go over what I expect of all of them, I want to go over a few things. Firstly, thank you to my Going for Two colleague, Mr. Ryan Searfoss, who you can follow at, God damn it, get a real Twitter handle for starters, Ryan, at FNTSY Connect. That's Fantasy Connect without the A's. Get a couple A's for you for a tag like that. Ryan, for letting me utilize your template and statistical analysis, because let's face it, if you're struggling to understand a word I speak, you should watch me try and math. It's not pretty. So without your generosity, this probably wouldn't have been able to happen. So thank you very much. I'd still be counting with my fingers and toes. Secondly, for fantasy purposes, this will be PPR based and in a 12-team format, so you get clarity whenever I say he's going to finish as a wide receiver too, then you know what range I'm talking about. We don't have to make assumptions or think otherwise. You know exactly what I'm saying. And finally, I'm talking as if they play a full 16 games healthy together, which happened once all year last year. Once. With Barkley and Ingram. Once. So I'm going to assume that they all play 16 games healthy. That's what the stats are on. And that's what we're going to go over too now. And finally, to get a greater feel of what I think is going to happen with Slayton, Shepard, and Tate, I think it's best that we address Daniel Jones here first and what he's going to do. Now, I lean on him not just taking a step forward, thank you, David Cutcliffe, a big step forward. Now, I've got him going for 611 passing attempts, 4,153 yards, 33 touchdowns. I think he's going to go bananas if all his guys are healthy and playing together. So I'm leaning on him taking a big step forward. Based on last year's fantasy standings, I have him finishing with around about 264 points and some change. It's around about 17 points per game, give or take, which would be good. For last year's around about the quarterback 13 overall. So it's slightly down on last year's points per game, barely. But remember, he had some turnover issues and he missed a couple of games as well. So 611 targets, 16 full games from Slayton, Shepard, and Tate. Bake into it Ingram and Barkley, Deion Lewis, I guess. And you'll find out that those targets get soaked up pretty quickly. But for now, leading our receivers in 2020, I actually have Sterling Shepard statistically over everyone else slightly. Now, I have him for, again, over 16 games, bear with me, 134 targets, 87 receptions, 939 yards, 6 touchdowns, to punch in 217 PPR points, which along the lines would have landed him slightly ahead of A.J. Brown in 2019 as the wide receiver 21 overall. Now, context, again, is everything. And Shepard finished last year, I think it was points per game, 14.2, which would be good enough to finish as wide receiver 20 on a points per game basis anyway. So in this model, he would have finished at 13.57 points per game, which is what A.J. Brown had in 2019 also, with a points per game of 13.6. So to think that Shepard can't produce the same numbers he was on track for already, like, it's absurd. Like, if those were the numbers he was already doing and I'm underselling it, I kind of think it's a tad delusional on anyone's behalf because he was literally doing as much consistently. I just think he finishes the full season with those numbers, and that's where he would have ended up. What, wide receiver 2021? And the guy's going in the, 12th, 13th round? That's a steal. That's a bargain. Like, it's ridiculous. If you're a guy or girl that goes running back heavy, and you know what, I'm going to throw in a quarterback mid-rounds, going to stack a couple tight ends like Higbee and Hooper, and then maybe I'll address some wide receivers later. Shepard, really? He is of value? So I think that isn't too far out of the realm of reality for Shepherd, because he was doing this last year. It's just, season with injuries, concussion, whatever, hampered his year. And I think people would be talking about him a lot more. Concussions worry people, they should. Same thing, you look at what's happening to Brandon Cooks. He's probably in a better situation this year now. I'm sure our Texans podcast will probably decree that as well, than what he was at the Rams. You go to the Rams, Higbee's taken a step forward. They still have Everett. Kupp and Woods are target machines. Now, Cooks can still do a job, but he's not getting the same love. Now he goes to Houston. No DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller's going to last 16 games? Sterling Shepard's a better chance. So, again, Shepard, I think, is still our best receiver when he's healthy and out there. I don't think it's close. Well, that's a lie. It is actually pretty close. I've got Darius Slayton breaking 1,000 yards as our second receiver with 98 targets, 62 receptions, 1,114 yards, 7 touchdowns, for a solid rounded up figure of about 205 PPR points with an impressive 12.81 points per game, slightly up from his 12.1 points per game in 2019. Last year, Slayton finished as the wide receiver 37, although not playing a full season also, and this would have him just behind Sterling Shepard as the wide receiver 25 based on 2019 points per game finishing, which would have been old mate Beckham Jr., who finished as that, the guy who left as Slayton was drafted. So Slayton was the highest scoring Giants receiver, not by much last year. Shepard only played the 10 games and Tate with 12, but still, he outproduced the top rookie receiver last year in Marquise Brown, and everyone's back on him again. And everyone's preseason darlings last year, Robbie Anderson, Mike Williams, Corey Davis, and yeah, even Brandon Cooks, who I just mentioned, Slayton outdid him too. And Cooks played more games. So I think we need to throw that respect on Darius Slayton with what he can do, especially while rookie fever is high. People are starting to neglect guys like him just a little bit, but still. We can see him taking an even greater role in this team. I think that's going to happen. And I think the biggest vote of confidence in him is that Giants didn't recruit anyone. Like, no one in the draft, except for a few undrafted free agents, a couple guys from Ohio, one guy from LSU, I think, guys that weren't drafted. The 6'7" guy called Ryzen. That's funny still to me. So there was no one in free agency that we actively recruited. So that's got to be a big, big, big vote of confidence in what the team sees in Darius Slayton for me. So it's wheels up for him, returning your draft interest. Again, for me, best ball, that would be it. Dynasty, you probably want to hold on to him for another year, then maybe sell. Now, my guy, Golden Tate. Love Golden Tate. Tate in fantasy only finished 0.4 points per game behind Sterling Shepard, and had 1.7 points per game more than Slayton in 2019. No one's talking about that. The guy's going 7 or 8 rounds later than Slayton and 3 or 4 later than Shepard. The only problem with all this, for me, is that I think he's going to be the one that takes a little bit of a step back because the other two are going to get the bulk of the work. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to get his love. He's going to go for 110 targets, 65 receptions, 747 yards, 4 touchdowns. That will have him on pace similarly to what he did in 2019. So with these numbers, he would finish as the wide receiver 40 in 2019, 5 places than what he did last year. And remember, he did finish, he didn't start the first month of the year. So again, like in any format, Tate is kind of a value. Redraft, he's going to be the guy that you get off the waiver wire. In Dynasty, you could get a throwaway pick for him. Or he could be an add-in to a trade. It doesn't really matter. And in best ball, he's going in the rounds where you're taking flyers anyway, and he's going to give you that upside. You got to understand, like, this guy punched out 5 games with over 80 yards and 7 games with 7 or more targets, all the while missing that first month of the year. And I think he led the Giants receivers with 6 or 7 touchdowns. I'd have to double down on that. So, I mean, it's not like he did poorly. He was right in the mix with everyone else. 80 yards that many times, like 5 games of 80 yards. That's a 7 reception game. 80 yards, that's 15 in PPR. There is nothing wrong with that at all. Those are top numbers. Those are top numbers. But I think, again, we're talking about if these guys are healthy. I have Shepard as number 1, Slayton just behind, and Tate taking the bigger fallback after that. Now, before I wrap this up, please, I want to remind you that it's not too late to start your own Back Row podcast. Again, reach out to Jeremy Barker at Back Row Fins or the Back Row Fantasy Show or Bark Back Row, one of the three. He will get back to you, good dude, and you can grab any of your team, any team you like that you support, and you can get yourself set up. Everyone's punching out content, having a great time, bouncing ideas off each other, which is, especially this time of year where there's not a lot going on. It's pretty good to have a good group of people to work with there as well. And yeah, he'll help you get set up. If you're already an experienced podcaster, you won't need that much help. If you've never done this before, he'll help you get going. It's a great thing to do too. So if you want to get started, reach out to him or reach out to me and I can point you in his direction anyway. Remember, you can also follow me at the B-League Says or Back Row Giants. And my articles are Fantasy Impact for the Back Row Fantasy Show or the Game Plan, which is at goingfor2.com. And you can get me there as well. But until then, stay inside. Please be nice to each other. There's a lot of garbage going on outside. Please stay inside. No looting. No looting. Stop looting. There's literally no need. There is no need to throw a rock through a window. For what? It's ridiculous. Riots, looting, silly. Protest, yes. Peaceful protest, yes. Looting, no. Bad. Bad. Put the rocks down. Bad. Bye for now. Come on, Killdrive. No, I'm not done just yet. No, I thought I was done, but I'm going to throw the outro. No, I'm going to throw some bonus content. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. Roger Goodell, you silly little man. Silly. You should have apologized 4 years ago. You shouldn't have stopped them from kneeling. You absolute imbecile. What? Because the best players, the best young players in your league called you and the NFL out. You responded a day later. It shouldn't have taken you that long. You should have got out before it. You absolute clown of a man. Oh, well, no, he's doing the right thing. Oh, no, he's fine. No, he should have done it years ago. He shouldn't have stopped anyone from protesting peacefully. You lost the message. Drew Brees, you're a clown too. Oh, no, we're brothers. No, not brothers in arms now. No, you're a clown. You missed it completely. Zero awareness. Zero. Oh, the flag. No, could care less. Respect those that served. I get it. 100%. Missed the message completely. Oh, well, no, Goodell. No. Bad, Goodell. Bad. No. You're 4 years too late. You should have supported the guy that put people on seats and put jerseys on backs, and you didn't. You sold him out. You sold everybody else out in the league as well. Oh, what? Because you answer to owners? What? Why? Kneeling for a good cause. You clown. It took you 4 years. 4 years to figure this. I'm going to avoid that explicit tag again. Whoa, nearly got there. No. You should have been with the guys that helped support the league from day one, and you didn't. You missed it because you're worried about money, you greedy little man. NFL's always going to make money. Teams are always going to make money. People care about the players, not the owners. That's who they relate to. That's who they wish they were when they play Madden. Kaepernick goes to a Super Bowl, lights it up. But you sold him out for an owner. What are you doing? It took you that long. It should have taken you no time after they put the tweet out there. The players put the tweet out. Pat Mahomes, Odell Beckham, Deshaun Watson, Zeke Elliott, Michael Thomas, all the stars of the league, all the guys that you need to support, they called you out. It wasn't them calling the NFL out. They were calling you out. And it took you over a day to respond with a video apology because the tweet you sent wasn't good enough? You clown. You should have got ahead of it long before this even happened. Rest in peace, George Floyd. Black Lives Matter. All of that matters. You should have got ahead of this when Kaepernick was doing his deal. You should have supported him then, and the players that were doing it then, and every player since the last 4 years. Eric Reed, he ain't got a team yet. He ain't been re-signed. Carolina didn't keep him about. I'd love him to be a Giant. I have no problem with him being a New York Giant. Well, he's going to cause... No, he's not going to cause controversy. It's controversy if you don't agree with why they're kneeling. That's the controversy. Look in the mirror. No, Eric... No, who cares? They have points. They are right. They are on the right side of history here. They are not wrong. Owners are wrong. Oh, what? They put a tweet out? They black out their Instagram? But they won't give guys a job for speaking their mind on something that actually matters. Goodell, you're a clown. NFL, it took you too late. It took you too long to get on board with this. You should have been on board with it 4 years ago. You could have helped raise awareness on this and you could have helped save lives in between. Reform could have happened with your influence years ago. I guess we'll never know. Moron.